Hi you guys, this is a help video for the ALEKS assignment, converting a fraction to a decimal. As you go through your assignment, you're going to have problems similar to the one that I'm showing you. Your numbers might just not be exactly the same. So with that said, let's go ahead and look at a few examples. The first one, question number 1. So your question number 1 is going to look similar to this. It just may not be the exact same numbers, like I said. So write 7/25 as a decimal. Remember that if you are going to write a fraction to a decimal, you divide the top, or the numerator, by the bottom, or the denominator. Okay, so if we are going to write 7/25 as a decimal, we put 7 inside the box, and then we divide that by 25. Now, you guys know that 25 cannot fit into 7. You can't make a group of 25 if you only have 7. So you're going to need to add a decimal and a 0, and then the decimal goes straight up. And now we have to figure out how many times does 25 fit into 70? Well, 25 plus 25 is 50. And if I were to add it again, that would be 75. That would be too big. So 25 only fits twice. So now we do 2 times 25, which is 50. 70 minus 50 is 20. Add a 0, bring a 0 down, and then we have to figure out how many times does 25 fit into 200. So one thing that I do is I just count by 25. So I would say 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, 175, 200. And you guys can't see me, but I was actually using my fingers there. So that would be 8 times, and 8 times 25 is 200. 200 minus 200 is 0. So we know that 7/25 as a decimal is 0.28. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at another example. Remember, these are just like your questions as far as what you're being asked to do. Your numbers may just be different. So write 7/20 as a decimal. So remember, if we're going to write a fraction as a decimal, we take the top number, we put that in the box, we divide by the bottom number. And you guys know we cannot make a group of 20 if we only have 7 things. So 20 goes into 7, 0. We're going to have to then add a decimal and a 0, bring the decimal straight up. 20 fits into 70. Okay, and if you guys can see me, I'm going to count on my fingers. 20, 40, 60. If I do that one more time, it would be 80, and that would be too big. So 20, 40, 60. We know that it fits 3 times. So we can put a 3 here. 3 times 20 is 60. 70 minus 60 is 10. Then I add a 0, bring a 0 down. 20 fits into 100 5 times. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. 5 times. So now 5 times 20 is 100. Subtract, we end up with 0. So 7/20 as a decimal is 0.35. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at one more of those. So question number 5. This will be just like your question number 5. You'll just maybe have some different numbers. You could possibly even have these same ones. So 15/24 is a decimal. We take 15, we take the top number, we divide by the bottom number. Okay? 24 cannot fit into 15. You cannot make a group of 24 if you only have 15. So we add a decimal, we add a 0, the decimal comes straight up, and then we have to figure out how many times 24 is going to fit into 150. Now for this one, I'm just going to do some estimating. I'm going to pretend this 24 is a 30. And 30 would fit into 150 5 times. So I'm just going to do a little estimating here. If we put a 5 here, 5 times 24 is, let's see, we'd add our 0. 5 times 4 is 20, so we'd add our 0 here, our 2 here. That would be 10, 11, 12. And then 15 minus 20 is 30. Okay, and then 24 fits into 31 time. 1 times 24 is 24, and then we subtract. 30 minus 24 is 6, so we're going to add another 0, bring a 0 down. 24 fits into 60 twice. 2 times 24 is 48. We subtract. 60 minus 48 is 12. Add a 0, bring a 0 down, and then 24 fits into 120 5 times. 5 times 24 is 120. We subtract, we end up with 0, so we are done. We know that 15/24 as a decimal is 0.5125. Okay, now let's go ahead and look at number 6. On number 6, you can see that what you have is a mixed number. There is a whole number 5, and then there's a fraction part 13/20. Okay, so if we are writing this as a decimal, we can write the 5 down. Okay, so we're going to write the 5 down. And then we have to change the fraction 13/20 to a decimal. So the whole number is 5, and then to change 13/20 to a decimal, we take the top number 13, we divide by the bottom number 20. We know that 20 can't fit into 13, so we add our decimal and a 0, and then we have to figure out how many times does 20 fit into 130. And remember, you can count by 20s if you want. Sometimes I think that's the easiest way. I even sometimes use my fingers when I'm doing my counting to figure out how many times it's going to fit in. So if we do 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, that would be 6. Okay, so let's do that. Let's do 6 times. 6 times 20 is 120, and then we subtract, we get 10, add a 0, bring a 0 down, 20 goes into 100 5 times. 5 times 20 is 100. Okay, so 13/20, when we convert that to a decimal, we get 0.65. So 5 and 13/20 would be 5.65. Okay, let's look at one where you have to write an improper fraction as a decimal. Remember, with improper fractions, that's where the top number is bigger than the bottom number. So this right here is an improper fraction, 14/3. To write this as a decimal, we're going to do the same thing that we have been doing. So we're going to take the 14. Let me erase this first here. We're going to take the 14 and we're going to divide by 3. Okay, so the top number always goes in the box divided by the bottom number. So 14 divided by 3. 3 fits into 14 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12, and then we subtract. 14 minus 12 is 2. Okay, now at this point, we have a remainder of 2. So 14/3 becomes 4 and 2/3. And when we convert 2/3 to a decimal, we're going to take the 2, we're going to divide by 3, we add our decimal and a 0. This is going to be 6. 3 fits into 26 times. 6 times 3 is 18. Subtract, we get a 2. Add a 0, bring a 0 down. 3 goes into 20 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. Subtract, we get a 2. Add a 0, bring a 0 down. At this point, we can see that 2/3 is a repeating decimal. So we write a repeating decimal with the line above the part that repeats. So 14/3 as a decimal would be 4.66 repeating. Okay. Some common ones for you to know are 1/3. Remember, that's going to be 0.33 repeating. And whenever you have a 2/3, it's going to be the 0.66 repeating. Okay, let's go ahead and look at one more, and then I think you guys will be ready to do your assignment question. Number 11 says write 31/40 as a decimal. Okay, so when we write 31/40 as a decimal, we are going to take the top number 31, we are going to divide by the bottom number 40, Okay, and 40 doesn't fit into 31, so we're going to add a decimal, bring the decimal straight up, and then we add a 0. On this one, you just want to estimate how many times would 4 maybe fit into 30. You can pretend like the zeros don't exist there, and an estimate for that would be 7. So let's just put 7 and see if this will work for us. 7 times 40 is 280. Okay, and now 310 minus 280, I can't actually take 8 from 1. So I'm going to borrow from the 3, make it a 2, make the 1 an 11, and then 11 minus 8 is 3. And then we're going to, 310 minus 280 would be 30. And now we add a 0, bring our 0 down, and then again we have to figure out how many times is 40 going to go into 300. So let's pretend like the zeros aren't there, and 40 fits into 30 7 times. 7 times 40 is 280. Okay, and now we're going to subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. We can't take 8 from 0 in that second column, so we're going to have to borrow from the 3, make it a 2, and make this a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. So we've got 20. We're not done yet. We're going to add a 0, bring a 0 down. 40 fits into 20. To estimate that, let's just cover up those last 2 zeros. So let's see if we can estimate how many times 4 fits into 20. And that would be 5. So that means that 5 times 40 would be 200. And we have a 0, which means we are now done. So 31/40 as a decimal is 0.775. Okay, now those are some examples to help you with your ALEKS assignment. Remember that as you are working on your ALEKS assignment, you need to make sure that you complete the ALEKS assignment at 100%. And then when you're done, you're going to take a screenshot of your final report showing both your name and your score of 100%, and then you upload that to Canvas so that I know that you finished that assignment. If you are needing extra help with this skill, please, please, please make sure you come and ask me for help. Please stay after school. Please request to go to the Learning Center for Den Time. Please request for me to schedule an appointment with you with our tutor. You guys have to make sure that you ask me if you need help, okay? With that said, go ahead and get started on your assignment.